just need to defrag the crowd, but it looks like you're already fully packed here. So I briefly considered maybe actually making a presentation for this, but I figure I've made it this far without ever using PowerPoint, so I'm just going to wing it again. So most of this is going to be my personal opinions. I am going to have a few things that I will call out as official Oculus positions, and there will be some noteworthy things to talk about there. But the first thing that I get asked a lot, and in fact I put out kind of a call for topics yesterday on Twitter, and of course this came up a couple of times, is why mobile VR at all? Why am I working on PC with the latest and greatest high-end stuff and all the fun gear to do there? Why am I working with these kind of mobile toys, and in fact spending almost all of my time working almost exclusively on this? And it's a fair question, especially for Oculus, where most of the Oculus base is the PC gamer, hardcore PC gamer that doesn't mind buying expensive peripherals. So you could say, well, this is the job that Oculus is sort of signed up for. And we've got a ton of people working really hard on that. But I think that there's an opportunity here to go beyond that in many ways. And while we're at the Game Developers Conference, I can still say I think that virtual reality is bigger than gaming. I mean, virtual reality, we talk about this as this final platform, as this new way that people are interacting with computers. And that's still a good thing for gaming, because we've seen this over and over. As new platforms go out and people go to something for email or for social, and they wind up having gaming experiences there. It winds up being brand new markets, and new players can come in and break brand new ground there. So it's almost a cliche when people talk about serving 1 billion users. It's like, oh, be serious. We should be talking about the things right in front of us. And I usually am like that. I don't spend much time going on about these grand visionary things, but I honestly do see a world with 1 billion people using virtual reality headsets. It's just so fundamental that so much of what people do in the world deals with changing the environment around them. And many of those things that they change the environment for are purely aesthetic visual things that we can replicate to greater and lesser degrees in virtual reality. So I think there's going to be huge reasons why large fractions of the world population will eventually want to use virtual reality. They'll get drawn into it, they'll buy lots of different things, and eventually they'll be playing games in it. So there's no way that a PC peripheral or a game console winds up being the path that scale of people interact with. But you do have a path to that, and that's with mobile technology. I mean, we have 1 billion plus smartphones, we're heading towards 1 billion tablets. These are markets where it's amazing when you think about it, because we're addressing these sizable fractions of the entire world's population. And I think VR does have a possibility of following in those trends. So I do think that in the long run, mobile technology is going to be probably the dominant platform. It already is in many ways. But there's real questions about 5 years, 10 years. The VR headset of our dreams doesn't have wires on it. It's probably going to be built on more mobile technology. But that VR headset of our dreams isn't here now. It isn't going to be here in the next couple of years. So you could make arguments. Do you start with the highest end, most powerful, potent system and try to perfect the experience and figure we're going to migrate form factor later? Or do we start with the form factor and improve performance? Or do we do both? And we've decided as a company that we are going to do both. And that does cause some difficulties. And there are problems when your company is not laser focused on one single product. It makes things a little bit more challenging. You will have various internal divides about how resources get allocated and so on. But I think that it is a completely valid strategy. We have all the wonderful stuff that we're doing on the PC, the high-end work that lets us build these near photorealistic scenes in some cases, running with all the benefits of very high quality position tracking, very high refresh rates. But what we can do on the mobile is still pretty exciting. Like my 70-year-old mother carries a Gear VR with her traveling now with a Theta panoramic camera to take vacation photos in 360-degree panoramas. And this is the type of thing that we're going to be surprised how many people that we would not expect to be caring about virtual reality wind up picking things up for things like this. It turns out that people kind of like photos and videos, and we can do photos and videos with virtual reality headsets in a way that is very powerfully better than what you get with traditional devices. And that's going to bring tons and tons of people in. And they may come for different things, but they'll find games there as the platform evolves. So I do firmly believe that this is an important direction, and I'm going to try to convince all of you that it's a direction that's worth spending your time and resources developing games for. So the path that took us here is, it's kind of interesting how this went around the world and back, where the project, you could say, started with, Samsung has a large facility in Dallas, actually, where they have some R&D teams and different things. One of the teams there prototyped this little phone holder. Now, we've seen phone holders before. You know, one of the first things that I did when I got on my virtual reality kick was I got the little Hasbro VR viewer. You stuck your iPhone in and looked through it. And it was interesting. It had some terrible software experiences with it. And Palmer made his own VR phone holder headset, and we got cardboard now and a few other things. But whenever I look at those things, it was always clear to me from the very first time I looked at this, it's like, okay, this could be so much better than what we're actually seeing here. You know, it's just, they're not doing it right. And there's that sort of sense that many technical people will see or feel when you see something and you know what it could be, and you know it could be important, and you see companies just doing it wrong, there's that powerful desire to fix it and do it right and show them sort of how it's supposed to be done. So this team in Dallas at Samsung built a little phone holder. They actually did a really a pretty nice job on it, pretty good ergonomics, nice holder. They took lenses from a DK1, and they were doing this internal demo at Samsung. Good ergonomics, nice holder. They took lenses from a DK1, and they were doing this internal, sort of what we've seen from similar phone holders in the past, which is to say, not very impressive, and certainly not anywhere close to even DK1 level of virtual reality experience. All the things that go wrong. Not very impressive, and certainly not anywhere close to even DK1 level of virtual reality experiences. All the things that go wrong. Not very impressive, and certainly not anywhere close to even DK1 level of virtual reality experiences. All the things that go wrong. Of mobile virtual reality and say this is something that can be done in this reasonably close period of the future. Where you get most people say, yeah, it will be the future sometime, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, but it's not right now. But I can look at that, look at the specs, and say, no, I think we can do this pretty much right now. And we bought into this, we started working on it. For the first 6 months or so, it was pretty much me writing software. And 1 year ago today, not today, but 1 year ago, and about this week, we had demos that were showing at the Mobile World Congress last year based on a Galaxy S5, showed to some partners sort of behind closed doors. And it had some of the basic experiences that we wound up shipping with. It had a cinema, 360 panoramic videos, it had some static stills, some basic game experiences, and Samsung was like, we can productize this right now, and that's a lot of tension between Oculus and Samsung about exactly what constitutes the right VR product. And Oculus has had a lot of fear of, the term that you hear internally a lot is poisoning the well. There's this fear that if a really bad VR product goes out, it could set the industry back to the 90s. I mean, some of the old timers here will remember the virtual reality craze of the 90s when it was going to be the future and it was going to change everything and it was going to impact the social structures of the world and all of this high-minded stuff. And of course, it left huge smoking craters in the landscape of all of these companies that, that never made any money, lost a lot of investors' money. And then we had people that were afraid to touch VR for 20 years. And we would literally run into people saying, it's like, oh, VR, that worked out so badly, I don't think I want to be involved in that. So it was something not without some cause for concern. So, Oculus was in the position of, we know what we're doing on the PC, we're building towards this, this great product that does essentially everything right. It has all the position tracking, it has the high refresh rate. There was this question about this mobile product. It's like, okay, it's running John's demos pretty good here, but it's not running other people's Unity code. Is this only going to be for like super ultimately optimized things? It's 60 frames per second, low persistence. It can cause eye strain.